Thank you for joining us in this segment of Life Beyond Corona. We have three young people with us who will share their thoughts. We have Pastor Andrew Jacob, the youth pastor of Lowry Memorial College. We have Beersheba Jacob, the HR coordinator of Lowry Memorial College. And we have Dr. Daniel John Rajkumar, who works in the Adventist Hospital, Bangalore. And I am Pastor Maywald Jesudass, taking care of Tamil Church at Hosur. As a family, we are bored. And so we thought we will share this time with you. Most of what we are going to say are things that you have already read and definitely heard. But this is just to confirm those things that you have heard and read. In December 2019, the outbreak of corona was first identified in Wuhan, China. Because of its rapid spread, by March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization coronavirus as pandemic. Can you believe today it has affected 190 countries. Over 4,70,000 people have tested positive. In fact, this is those who have been tested and reported. Countless others are not tested as yet. The death toll, surprisingly, has risen, doubled, tripled some days, and has now gone past the 21,000 mark. I am positive that in the next decade or two, we would refer to events saying before corona or after corona. I have Dr. Daniel John Rajkumar with us, who will share with us about this virus. Dr. Daniel, I read that this virus is not new, that the researchers spotted it in as early as 1950. And it also has various stains. Why do you think this particular virus is so deadly?
This coronavirus that we're all talking about is a novel coronavirus. So it was first isolated only last year in December 2019 in China. And before that, researchers had never encountered this virus, which is why it was called a novel coronavirus. And talking about coronaviruses, there are many strains of coronaviruses. During winter, it's estimated that up to 5 to 10% of the population is infected with other strains of coronaviruses.
That is quite high.
It is. And back in the last decade, we've actually had two other diseases, and these were known as MERS, which referred to the Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, and SARS.
Oh, SARS also has to do with the coronavirus.
Yes, MERS and SARS both are part of the coronavirus family, and hence the term. And this novel coronavirus is, people have been saying it's more dangerous than SARS and MERS. But the actual reason why people are saying that it's more dangerous is even though the mortality rate, that is the number of people that die as a percentage, is lesser than the number of people that died as a percentage than SARS or MERS, this virus infects more number of people. That is, this virus is easily transmitted from one person to another person. Uh, we know that one person can infect at least two people if they're affected by this virus, and hence, uh, even though the mortality rate is only between studies show that between 1 to 7% in different parts of the world compared to other coronaviruses like SARS and MERS, where the mortality rate is significantly higher, because of the easy transmissibility, it is more dangerous in the population.
Can you tell us how virus actually kind of is it is it already within our system, or do we get this virus from outside us, and how does it spread?
So I'm sure almost everyone knows that this virus was found in China, but where it comes from is unknown. People have speculated that it has either transmitted from bats to humans or from an animal called the pangolin to humans. So the source is unknown, but it has come from the animal family and it has been transmitted to humans.
How does it grow within us? For example, I've read that this virus takes couple of days to 14 days, couple of days in people who have lesser immunity, and it takes about 14 days in a person who has got strong immunity.
So this is what we refer to as the incubation period of any virus. The incubation period refers to the time that it takes for a virus, since it is in our system, for it to show the effects of the virus. So researchers have actually found out that between 5 to 14 days is an estimate of how long it will take for the virus to actually show the symptoms,
5 to 14 days,
approximately.
approximately. Now, I know that most of you have been watching all the TV channels possible, and you have received numerous messages on WhatsApp. Can you once again confirm to us what are some of the symptoms that we should take note of?
Sure. So the most important symptom is fever. Around 99% of the population that is infected and showing clinical symptoms have fever. Uh, the other symptoms, which are of value but in lesser priority, would be a dry cough, generalized tiredness. Some people complain of even difficulty breathing, and that is one of the more severe symptoms that this virus causes.
So we have to look for all the three symptoms in us before going to the doctor, or just that fever is sufficient for us to go and get some medical help?
Well, according to the WHO, the World Health Organization, they have said that not everybody who has a fever, cold, and cough needs to actually go to the doctor or get tested. So, if you have a fever, a cold, and cough, and if you don't have any problems with breathing, you don't have difficulty breathing, uh, it is not really necessary to go and get tested. But however, what is necessary is actually for you to go to the for you to stay at home, prevent others from getting it in case you have it.
Now, we talked a lot about social distancing, and a lockdown is on us because to avoid us mingling. Now, tell us, how can I contract this virus from another person?
Good question. So, a lot of research has gone into it. As of now, we are sure that the virus is transmitted via respiratory droplets. Uh, and since it is a relatively larger virus, it can only stay in there for a particular period of time, and it can only cross a particular distance. So, which is why it is mandated that, according to social distancing norms, uh, you should stay apart from people and within a radius and maintain a distance of around 2 meters, approximately 5 to 6 feet.
Did you hear that, people? 2 meters is what is required to avoid transmission. Now, this is not going to be easy when we have children coming back home from schools, from colleges, and when we have everyone remaining at home, no one is working, no other activities is occupying them. We have a house full of people. This is unlike any other time. So we have another growing issue or another area to deal with. When we have a house full of people who are constantly there and it's not possible to keep the distance, I think we should follow regular health norms. What do you think about personal hygiene during this time, Bathsheba?
I think maintaining personal hygiene is very important at this time since probably all of your family members might be together in the same place. So we need to take care of ourselves, shower every day, wash our hands frequently, and probably keep our clothes and our belongings clean and neat.
Okay, personal hygiene is placed high on the list of cleanliness, particularly home health. So keep your nails short, and as recommended by government and health organization, avoid touching your face. What else we should avoid in terms of hygiene?
So because this virus can stay on particular surfaces for different periods of time, and if many people touch those surfaces, it can be transmitted easily. So it can stay on surfaces such as door handles, on lift, on on other surfaces. So it is very necessary for us not to touch those surfaces and then touch our eyes, our nose, and our mouth, because then it can easily enter our system.
Thank you. That is personal hygiene part of it. Pastor Andrew, there is a concern about inactivity during this lockdown. People are kind of not willing to move easily, even within the house. How do we address this issue and for our own to have for our own personal health?
I'm sure most of them are feeling like a horse in the stable at this time, in the house and lockdown. So, what can you do, or what can we all do during this time of lockdown? I believe that we need to refrain from using our gadgets too much. I'm sure we have access to our television. I think it's a great temptation right now since we are not allowed to go outside. Yes, we can follow the news, which is good. We can keep ourselves occupied with maybe our television or our cell phones, but I think there is a limit which we have to have in a day, lest we be on the bed or be on the couch all the time, and which will not be really good for us. So, what can we do? For those of you who would like to exercise, I think home exercise will be a good thing to start. If you have a balcony or you have a terrace where you can go and have a walk, or if you can go out in the mornings and get good sunshine early mornings before 10, that also will be helpful.
Sure. Dr. Daniel, there is one other area about health I thought you need to add. What about the foods that is recommended for us to eat at this point? Is there any food that will give us extra resistance to this virus?
We all know that people with higher immunity are more resistant to this virus. So, if we can increase our micronutrient intake and increase the number of vitamins that we take, I'm sure we will be able to increase our immunity, and hence we will be able to be resistant against this virus. Not completely resistant, but to an extent.
So when you say eat healthy, when you say kind of take care of your immune system, in general, this is going to help us to resist against all diseases,
That's true.
including this coronavirus.
Exactly.
Now, what would you specifically name when it comes to vegetables or nuts? What are some things you think will kind of strengthen our immune system?
Well, different vegetables strengthen the immune system, I'm sure, in different ways. So, a
Sure.
balanced diet. So, I feel in this age when we are at home for most of the time, it would be prudent to actually cut down our intake of carbs and fats and actually increase our intake of proteins and fiber. So, we can actually increase the amount of vegetables that we consume, increase the amount of fiber that we consume. So, more fruits and foodstuffs like oats. Uh, this would actually be beneficial and actually keep us healthier than an increased amount of carbohydrates and fats in our diet.
In case you have already packed your refrigerator with processed food or your hideouts with all those chips and all those junk food, let them rest for a while, leave it where they are, and eat those things that will kind of build our immune system and not make us weak when this attack happens. As we continue to talk about health in our homes in this crowded situation, what do you think about sleeping pattern and habits, Pastor Andrew?
To get enough rest is important. 8 hours of sleep, if we sleep 2 hours before midnight and then wake up early, we can be more productive during the day. And let's see that we don't sleep or oversleep since we are sitting at home, which also will not be productive for us.
He's recommending sleep before the midnight hours, which will have an impact on general health. Is there anything else you would like to add before we go into the next section?
I think proper air circulation within the homes, keeping your windows open so that there is proper and ventilation in the homes would be a good idea.
That is very essential for good health in general and especially in homes that are crowded. Keep your windows open and the doors open whenever you can so that there'll be good circulation of air in our homes. As we keep talking about life beyond corona, let's look at another important dimension. People are bored. There are children at home, young people at home, the older adults and the older people are at home, and there's nothing much we can do around. Now, what are some things we can do productively? What are some things different people can do? Are there any suggestions you have, Bathsheba?
These days, everybody's asking the question, how do we deal with self-isolation, social distancing, and national lockdown? Well, that's a very valid question because all of these are new to us. One suggestion would be to schedule a balanced range of activities during the day, probably including some physical exercise like we saw, and a wide range of activities which are relaxing and pleasant. I have my brother here, Nathan, who spends time with his piano and playing music and has also occupied himself with painting. Or if you have a garden, spend time in your garden and look at the flowers, stop for a fresh breath of air. This will help limit our usage of social media. Another thing would be to spend more time singing, memorizing scripture, learning a new language, or even brushing up on that old hobby of ours. As Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live can bear with almost anyhow. This time can be spent in self reflection and also spend time with God, getting back to finding your purpose and meaning in life, and probably rearranging our priorities in life. This time can be used for digital evangelism, something that we're also trying out right here. We can all be part of the Great Commission and share Jesus, share your journey with Jesus through either creating a blog or maybe creating a YouTube channel or something that you are interested in. Digital evangelism is needed more than ever before, and to get ideas or resources how to start this digital evangelism, you can look up at centerforonlineevangelism.org and find new ways to take the gospel to the ends of the earth.
This is just not about you being occupied and active. It's not about you developing new hobbies and or reviving the old ones, but you can also engage in telling others about Jesus Christ, whom you so dearly love. So I recommend that you look up the website that's been recommended by Beersheba. And in that website, you have a lot of materials and ideas how you can reach out to hundreds and thousands of people. In my whole lifetime, we have never had the trains not operating for this long a period. Just on the 22nd of March, 1,000 domestic flights were cancelled in India. And it says that if this continues, this lockdown continues, there'll be a huge economical breakdown in certain sectors. There's downside to this lockdown. There is two kind of areas that I want to talk about. One is some of our family members were not able to get back to the family before this lockdown. Our daughter Susanna, she's studying in Malaysia. We picked a ticket for her, and she was supposed to travel out the next day. Indian government shuts down, saying that no flights can come from Malaysia into India. We have another son in Thailand, Marcus. He works there as a teacher. He also was hoping to get back home. He couldn't make it for the same reason. Now we'll hear from Susanna, and after her, we have a small clipping from Marcus, who wants to share his experience and how he is coping up with this lockdown in Thailand.
Hello, everybody. This is Susanna Maywald. And while COVID-19 sweeps across the world and has brought it to a standstill, here I am in Malaysia at the University of Nottingham, where I pursue my master's in English language and literature. It has been quite an experience to go through the effects of this pandemic while here in a foreign country, but God has been good to me. So the situation right now here in Malaysia is quite serious in the sense that we still have a daily increase of cases. As of March 29, 2020, they have recorded a total of 2,470 cases with 34 deaths, and there's a daily rise. So the MCO, which is the Movement of Control Order, has been implemented quite rigorously and strictly, and recently the military have also been deployed to make sure that the general public follows the guidelines and the rules of the MCO. And I think the most striking realization that I have experienced in the past few days is that Jesus is coming really soon, and that the end of this world as we know it is very, very near. Everything around is telling us that this world is not going to last long. And it makes me wonder that we've been talking about it for so long, and we've heard people preaching about it, and yet I feel unprepared. This whole thing is scary and exciting at the same time. And it's made me wonder if I'm ready. If my family is ready, is my church ready? Are you ready? I think that's something that we should really take some time to think about, because it's going to happen before we know it, and we do not want to be caught by surprise. So, as you spend some time at home, I hope that you will use your time productively, that you will stay positive about everything, and that you will spend more time with God. So, stay home, stay happy, stay healthy, and God bless you all.
COVID 19. That's the only thing that people are nowadays talking about. From the time you wake up until the time you sleep, every platform on social media is talking about COVID 19. My name is Marcus Dan Jacob. I'm a teacher and I live in Bangkok, Thailand, and this is what's happening in my country. Bangkok, Thailand has gone into a complete shutdown, complete closure. A city full of life, a city full of music, parties, tourism, nightlife completely stopped because of COVID 19. As a teacher teaching in Bangkok, I advise all my students to stay at home. As much as I'm staying at home, as much as I'm teaching my students online, finding new ways to teach them, finding new assignments, finding new things to do for myself as well, I am coping up well. I'm spending time at home, I'm spending time in the kitchen, cooking new dishes, cooking new recipes. It's also a time where I am reading the Bible. Well, don't get me wrong, I'm watching a lot of movies, I'm playing a lot of games. Netflix and chill couldn't have been better at this point of time. But then also, I'm reading the Bible. I'm reading the writings of Ellen G. White. I'm reading the Great Controversy, the messages to young people. And the more I read, the more I feel safe, the more I feel hopeful, the more I feel like I am protected by the Spirit of God. Stay home, stay safe. Spend time with family, spend time with God, spend time with yourself.
Pastor Andy, there is another side to this lockdown. Government, for good reasons, have said that no religious places can be kept open. This is not easy in a country like India. I mean, every morning between 5 and 5:30, I hear the prayers from the mosque. Every morning, even before children could go to school, there are bells ringing in temples around this township. Our own believers who are scattered across Hosur are used to going to church at least 3 times in a week for worship and fellowship. Now, how can these people cope up with these restrictions?
So, what can we do? What can be a good alternative for us? Well, God wants us to continue to worship Him. I like the story of the woman at the well. And Jesus says that the time is coming when we have to worship in spirit and in truth. I'd like to read a verse. I'd like to read a verse from 1 Corinthians 6:17. But whoever is united with the Lord is one with Him in spirit. So I believe that we are living at a time when we all have to be in one spirit. We all can worship right where we are, in our homes. For those of us who have been having family worships, we can continue that singing. You can read a passage from the Bible, and you can take a chapter or you can take a theme which you'd like to study according to your family and your needs of your home. Um, for those of us who haven't had regular family worships, I think this is a good time where we can set a time in the day, morning and evening, where the family can come together since they all are at home, spend some time in prayer for the situation that is going on globally, and also sing songs and also read the scriptures. Let us not forget that it's time that we become the church and we can still worship where we are, and we believe that God's presence is still with us.
What about the suggestion of one or two families joining us in worship in our homes? Is that recommended at this time?
Well, at this time, we are asked to have our own worship in our own houses. Well, it's always good to pray together. I know that many family members are video calling who are not in the same place, and they're praying over the phone and over the devices that they have. Well, if you're a family in your house, it'll be advisable probably to pray as your own family. Visitation at this time is not yet recommended, but we hope that soon we can continue that.
This is not a home church where we want more than your family, other families to come and join. Avoid this because this is not in, in keeping up with the recommendations by the health organization and the government. But make your homes a worship place because the Lord will meet with us and give us the same blessings, even more, as we connect with our family together with Him. Pastor Andy, in these times of uncertainty and anxiety, is there a passage from the Word of God?
Well, these are indeed challenging time viewers. I'm sure most of us are gripped with fear and anxiety as to how long this is going to go and when will it come to an end. As we have been asking questions about what is happening in the world, and I'd like to read this verse which reminds us of God's providence to us. It's found in Psalm 91. This has always been my favorite verse since I was growing up, and it's a chapter where we read in times of safety. When we have times of difficulty, we read this, and it says, this is David speaking, and he says, He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and your buckler. I believe this time God is trying to speak to us. This is a time where we're going to rediscover who God is, and we're going to also rediscover who we are. This is a time of introspection that God is calling us to spend more time with Him. We have lived so much of our lives warming ourselves with other people's testimonies and other people's stories. And all those stories are soon running dry, and we need stories of our own. And God is trying to speak to us. And God is going to use our lives as we rediscover who He is and who we are during this time of lockdown, during this time of anxiety. Let us not fear what is around us and what is going to happen in the future, because uncertainty is all around us. But may we always put our faith in Jesus. We have the blessed hope that this soon will pass. And when we see the silver lining like how Noah did see, I believe that we all will raise our hands in prayer. No matter how dry and broken our hallelujah might be today, soon we'll be rejoicing and singing, and we'll be praising God as to how He has led us in the past and how He's going to lead us into our promised land. May God bless each one of you.
He is the Alpha and the Omega, a God who neither sleeps nor slumbers. He is with you, on your side, and you and your family are very precious to Him. God bless you.